back to the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen. And before we get started with today's episode, I want to ask all my viewers out there who is watching on YouTube to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on a podcast app, please subscribe to the podcast. Thank you. Let's cue it up. So 3 games are in the books for the NFL 2022 NFL season. And even though it's a small sample size of what we have seen for teams, and it doesn't really dictate what's going to happen at the end of the season, we could get a pretty good indicator of what teams are going to be like moving forward. So I want to talk about a few teams that have impressed me so far through the first 3 games of the season. Number 1, I have to go with my home team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I don't want to be biased when I say the Jaguars were going to be a good team, but I thought they'll be a competent team. I thought with the added additions on defense in the draft and added additions in free agency, this team will be able to stop the run, and they have just done that. They're number 1 in rush defense, and it's because it's being led by their rookie linebacker, Devin Lloyd. And Devin Lloyd just received a Rookie of the Month honors for the month of September via the NFL. And he, so far in the season, all he does is top 5 in tackles and second in interceptions. And number would tie first for pass deflections with 6. So Devin Lloyd has bring juice, speed to that Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Doug Peterson's having their offense looking really well. Christian Kirk and Zay Jones in free agency has proven to be great pickups that most people were questioning whether or not they will actually improve the offense, but so far they have. Now, the next team I want to say that has improved so far this season and have made a great impression on me will be the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Miami Dolphins, they're 3-0, and they beat pretty good teams in doing so. The Ravens, even though the Ravens collapsed at the end of the game, but you still have to make the throws, and you still have to get the job done. Even the throws are considered wide open throws. Tua still had to make the throws, and he proved that he was able to make the team come back in that victory. Also, they beat the Bills. I understand the Bills. I understand the Bills were playing in severe heat, and being a team from the north, it's hard to play in that weather. It's very difficult. But that Miami's Dolphins defense had to play 90 snaps. So even if they are used to the heat, that's a lot of energy and a lot of time to be on the field if you're a defense. And they stood tall. They stopped them in crucial points at the end of the second half and at the end of the game in order to get their team to victory. So the Miami Dolphins are 3-0. I don't know how well they would do down the stretch, but so far Mike McDaniels has his team playing really good football. And the final team I would say that impressed me the most will be the Eagles. Eagles are 3-0 also. And Nick Sirianni, going into the last season as a head coach, people thought he was a joke. They didn't think he could get the job done. They thought it would be a bad Eagles team. And despite that, they end up going 9-8 and making the playoffs. Now, I know they end up getting beat down by the Buccaneers, but it was like one of those light bulb moments. The team saw what they can do and what they had the potential to do in the future, so they capitalized off that. So when they went into the offseason, they picked up another receiver. They got good defensive players in the draft and free agency, just so they could be able to stack up that team to be Super Bowl caliber. And so far this season, they are playing like a Super Bowl caliber team. And by most analysts and shows, there are a lot of teams' favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. All right, now it's time for Week 4 predictions. Last week, I wasn't able to do an episode like I usually do for the podcast. I'm sorry, guys, but I was out of state. I ended up going to the Chargers and Jags game. Ended up being a really great game. And I got to experience LA for the first time. Never been to California. My Jaguars won, and I'm winning 38-10. Great experience. SoFi Stadium was amazing. Even the Charger fan base they weren't obnoxious. They were respectful. They treated me well, even though I was the opposing team. And I had overall a really good time. I actually got to meet Sean Merriman. I ran into him prior to the game, so that was pretty cool. And not every day you get really to see NFL players, prior to the game, just walking around the stadium. So that was pretty cool. It's time for Week 4 predictions. So I can't go over all the teams I picked for to win in Week 4. But here's a few teams. If you will see it, I'll have it listed in this video. All teams I am picking, and there's only a few teams I really want to point out that I feel pretty confident in on them winning this Sunday. So the first team will have to be the Green Bay Packers. They're playing the Patriots. I believe they're favored by like 10 plus points, according to Fox Sports Bets and Vegas odds. And it's easy. Mac Jones is probably not going to play that game. Brian Hoyer might be the quarterback. Brian Hoyer, even though he has been a backup for many, many years, but there's a reason why he has been a backup. Now, I believe he could come in mid-game scenarios and probably lead their team to victory, but I don't think he's going to be a quarterback to be able to beat the Green Bay Packers, who I have still as their favorite in their division. Another team I'm very confident in winning is the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs got to go down to Tampa, and Florida's going through some harsh times because of the Hurricane Ian. So it should be a interesting matchup. But the Chiefs are trying to bounce back from losing against the Colts last week. A game which they felt like they should never have lost. It was a bunch of like mental mistakes, special teams, and etc. Travis Kelce had a couple of drops in that game too, so that didn't help when your stars are not making plays like they routinely do. But I think the Chiefs will beat the Bucs. I still believe in Pat Mahomes. I still believe in Andy Reid. I still think they're a dominant team. I do still think they're geared to win. The final team I really want to discuss, and it's a team that will be playing in London. It'll be Minnesota and the Saints. Before I actually get to Minnesota Saints, I actually want to cover another team. That'll be the Las Vegas Raiders. That team is in a must-win scenario. I have to say that now. We'll get back to the Minnesota game, but the Las Vegas Raiders are 0-3, and they're the only team without a victory. Or should I say they're the only team that's 0-3. Texans don't have a victory either, but they still have a tie. So their record is technically better than theirs. But the Vegas Raiders, they have to win. It's do or die. Josh McDaniels, you got the head coaching job. I would hate to see you get fired after the first 5 games, because that's what it's looking like to me. He won't get fired, but that's what it looks like when I see them and the way they play football. And these games are winnable. It's just mental mistakes and just got to be fundamentally sound. So in week 2, they had a chance in overtime, but then Hunter Ripper fumbled the football, and that cost them a victory. And then last week they started off slow against the Titans, had a chance for a 2-point conversion, and they didn't convert it in order to go to overtime. So the Vegas Raiders have to beat the Broncos, and the Broncos are a team that's more defense than offense, even though they have a top 5 paid quarterback. And in my opinion, going into the season was a top 10 quarterback, but right now he's not playing like one as of the moment. But the Raiders have to win this Sunday. It's a must. The season's on the line. If you don't, you can already could cancel the playoff contention, because it's not going to happen if you go 0-4. Now, back to the Minnesota and Saints game. The Saints team, I thought they would be better. So I didn't have them win the division, but I thought they would be able to be a playoff team. And right now, their offense looks very dysfunctional. After week 1, and they were playing the Falcons, when the Falcons have a tendency to give up leads, so that's not the biggest indicator that they are a good team. But the Saints, what's your identity? Is it defense? Because if it is, your defense is to step up and play clutch football. Not saying the defense have been atrocious, but when your offense is struggling, like their offense is struggling, and you're turning the ball over as much as they do, you need takeaways. You need to create short yardage situations for your offense just to get it going. Jameis Winston, I heard, wasn't practicing that much this week, so that's probably a concern. Andy Dalton has been taking the first team reps, which it's not what you wanted. You don't want to see that. Andy Dalton's not the worst quarterback in the world, but you don't want Andy Dalton starting against the Vikings. And the Vikings are a pretty good team, and they're coming with a vengeance because they have to go and battle out Green Bay for the division lead. So, Saints, get the job done. Go to London, get the victory. I still have the Vikings winning, but if you want to turn the season around, get the offense together. even if you do lose, show me something on offense. Okay, don't start slow. Give me 0 turnovers. Let your defense put you in good positions and win the game. So to end today's episode, I want to do a quick recap of Thursday Night Football. Bengals versus Dolphins. Now this game started off with some little bit of excitement. Bengals were able to go down the field and score a touchdown pretty easily. The Dolphins will respond with a field goal. During the game, Tua would end up getting injured. He ended up taking a sack, and we ended up getting slammed on his head. Ended up leaving on a stretcher, taken to the hospital. The Dolphins reported that he's able to move all his hands, feet, etc. Prayers up to Tua for a speedy recovery. It looked very scary when we watched it live on TV. Teddy Bridgewater ended up coming in to the football game, played pretty well, but Bengals ended up kicking a field goal to put the score up to 20-15. Teddy Bridgewater had the chance to get the ball back in order to take the lead. A miscommunication between him and Mike Gesicki. He thought Mike Gesicki should have been turned back for the football a little earlier on the route he ran. He ended up throwing an interception that went straight to the safety, Von Bell. It was pretty easy interception. It landed right in his lap. He really didn't have to try so hard to get it. Ultimately, the Bengals will go down, punch in a touchdown to really put the game out of reach at the end of the game. And it goes to show you that even though Teddy Bridgewater is a pretty good backup in the league, not having those first team reps with the Dolphins offense played ultimately was a factor at the end of the game. But kudos to the Bengals. They got the job done. Joe Burrow ended up throwing for 2 touchdown passes. T. Higgins ended up having over 100 yards and receiving touchdown. So they're 2-2. Dolphins are 3-1. Bengals will be looking back to playing the Ravens in Week 5. That should be a really good matchup. Thanks for watching and listening to the Football Corner Podcast. Podcast episodes will be dropped on Mondays and Fridays, as well as YouTube videos on Mondays and Fridays. You could click the link in my description in order to follow the social media links to my podcast social media pages. And also, you'll be able to stay up to date on new drops, new takes, and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. See you next time.